Our first question is going to come from Joseph Fazio from the O'Colly. Go ahead, Joseph.
Yeah, Coach, going into overtime, looking at that illegal man downfield penalty on Tevin, can you just talk a little about what you were thinking when you saw that and how it kind of like affected what happened for the rest of the overtime period?
We've got to be a little more squared away there on that. It's kind of confusing how it happened. It was a goal line play that was called outside of the 10, and the play got strung out a little bit more than normal, and so I think Tevin just kind of lost where he was on the field.
And just going with the other penalties during the game, Texas had more, but it seemed like the penalties you guys had was more significant to the outcome of the game. Did you feel that?
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, there was, Texas had 142 yards in penalties, and we had 70. Obviously, the one at the end in the overtime on the pass interference call against number 13, that one was pretty significant. But, I mean, this is a simple game for us, really. I mean, we lost the turnover 5-0, and we got a kick return for a touchdown. So you have to give Texas credit. They made the plays in the end to win the game, but we didn't give ourselves a chance. You have 4 turnovers, and you have a roughing the punter, which is 5 turnovers, and we give up a kick return for a touchdown. So, as I've said many times before, disciplined football, special teams, and turnovers is what determines the outcome of games till you get to the latter part of the season. And we failed in those areas today, and then this is the result you'll get.
All right, thanks, Mike.
Our next question comes from Garen Emig from the Tulsa World. Go ahead, Garen.
Mike, it seemed that it was pretty evident what happened on most of your miscues, your turnovers. From your vantage point, the exchange way back in the first quarter between Hubbard and Sanders, could you see what was at fault there?
I couldn't because I can't see through the line on replays, until I was to watch video. But it doesn't make a difference. That shouldn't happen. I mean, we're too far along to have exchange issues like that with those two guys. And it'd be unfair for me to give you what happened without having a fair look at it. But either way, we can't have those things happen. Not in good football teams. That's not going to happen.
I don't mean to pick on Spencer, but he's had these issues before. He talks about the need to take better care. How frustrating is it? What can you do to help him along in his process toward taking better care with regard to ball security?
Well, we have to look at the tape and see what happened, identify the problem, then come up with a plan for it. It's a little different. Today was a little different than what it has been in the past for him. The play that you just referred to, I mean, we've been doing that. He's been doing that for 3 years. So that shouldn't happen, whatever happened. And then a couple times looked like we're holding on to the ball too long and getting stripped from behind. So either way, when you lose the turnover margin like that, probably not going to win the game.
Our next question is going to come from Barry Trammell from the Oklahoman. Go ahead, Barry.
Yeah, Mike, what happened on the roughing the punter? Did you have a rush on, or exactly what's going on, and how could you get yourself in that kind of situation?
We had a block on, and again, I can't see. I don't know what all went on, so it's hard for me to tell. But either way, our guys are coached that if you don't have a clear shot to it, you got to use what we call a drive-by. You got to be able to go out of the box of the punter and reach your hand out. That way, if you miss, you get the drive-by and you don't get the roughing. So, I mean, I'll be able to explain that more when I look at it, what exactly happened. But either way, we can't do that. You go after the block if you know that you've got it. If not, you got to swing by and miss the frame of his body.
What on a 4th and 22 when you say you have a block on? That seems odd, but do you do that often on long yardage situations?
when the ball's punted near the 50 like that, and this guy can really boom it. He's got really good distance on his punts. And so we try to mix up return and block to try to not let him get in a rhythm and down us inside the 10-yard line.
Our next question comes from Cody Nagel from Go Pokes. Go ahead, Cody.
Yeah, Mike, it looked like you had some more injuries on the offensive line. How much did that affect offense today?
I mean, I'm sure it affected it some, but again, I'm going to go back to the turnovers. I mean, I don't think it affected enough to where it could change our thought process on the way we look at this game from a turnover standpoint.
All right, thank you.
Down to our last couple questions here for Coach Gundy. Our next question is going to come from Sam Kahn from ESPN.com. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, Mike, I know you mentioned a lot of mistakes. Toward the end, the pass interference call on you guys there in the end zone, what was your vantage point on it, and how much do you feel like that impacted the end result?
Well, obviously, they would have had to kick a field goal. If, it looked like to me that you guys probably had a better view than I did. It looked like to me the guy just went around and got his feet tangled up in our guy and fell down. I'm not sure. That one was a little bit iffy for me from what I saw. I would have to see it again. But that would have forced him to kick a field goal, that's for sure. I think that was third down.
Right. And also your thoughts on the play of 46 on their side, Joseph's side, and kind of the impact he had on your guys' offense today.
Well, I thought he played a good game. He's a good football player. Toward the end of the game, the guy that made plays was Ellinger. I mean, he's we chased him down a couple times. We had unblocked guys came through on the pressure. He ran out of there and threw the ball back across his body for touchdowns. He's a good football player. He's the guy that got us late. Even with all the mistakes that we made today and how undisciplined that we were in certain areas, he still made plays at the end of the game that got us.
Thanks.
All right, our final two questions are going to come from Scott Wright and Frank Bonner. We're going to go with Scott first. Go ahead, Scott.
Yep, Mike, could you take us through the final play call and maybe what you guys saw and what went wrong there?
Again, I was looking on the perimeter. We had a good feel that they were going to bring pressure. Somebody got tangled up inside and missed a block. I can't say till I watch it and have a good idea. I hate to say, but we're trying to make a play and convert the force down, and they got after us and put us in a bad situation, and they made the play at the end of the game.
Other than the bust up front, did you have what you were looking for on the back end, or was it a mess back there too?
Well, we won't know because when he got chased out of the pocket that fast, that changed all the coverage and everything back there. Everybody's going to start flowing that direction. So it'd be really hard to tell without looking on tape and stopping it really early because he never got to set his feet. I think he was chased out of there before he could even set his feet.
Thanks, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Our final question is going to come from Frank Bonner from the Tulsa World. Go ahead, Frank.
Hey, Mike, I know you talked about the turnovers and it put your defense in some tough spots with short field position. What did you think about how they played today?
We gave up we got rubbed off on the big pass play, and then early we were getting beat on some inside zones. But without really studying it, I would say they had to play pretty good. We put them in terrible position time after time after time after time after time. And they rallied a few times and held them to field goals. So I'm going to say they played pretty good. You just can't put them – we can't put them in that position that many times, particularly against a quarterback like Ellinger.
Thank you, Mike.
Coach, thank you. Before we let you go, is there anything that you wanted to say that maybe we missed that you wanted to talk about?
No, I'm good, guys. We'll see y'all next week. Thanks.
Thank you, Coach. Hi, Coach.
Hello.
So we've got the regular post-game crew here. So members of the media, if you have a question for offensive coordinator Kasey Dunn, please click raise hand and we'll try and get to you. Our first question is going to come from Barry Trammell from the Oklahoman. Go ahead, Barry.
Yeah, Kasey, as far as offensively, it seemed like outside of big plays with Wallace, you struggled all night. You had some good stuff with screens and things in the first half, but that dried up in the second half. What happened in the second half that just made the offense sort of get stuck in the mud?
Well, we had some plays drawn up that hit. You pointed it out. I mean, we had some good things that kind of used up a bunch of our stuff in the first half. And, what we wanted to do was establish some run in the second half of the game, and we just had a hard time getting that off the ground. So back to the drawing board, we got to get that run game greased up and ready to go.
Our next question is going to come from Garen Emig from the Tulsa World. Go ahead, Garen.
Kasey, this is your first. This is your first brush with, as a coordinator anyway, with a team that really shot itself in the foot with all of the turnovers. What's your first order of business, specifically with Spencer, in trying to get the ball security issues corrected?
Well, first thing I got to do is go back and look at the tape, see what happened. Was it a call by me that put him in jeopardy? I don't know. So that's the first place I'm going to start. I'm going to start with myself. But after that, we got to make sure that, the obvious things, 2 hands on the football and locking it away and trying to get it out on time. If it's not out on time, then you pack it and run. But, he does so many good things for us when the play breaks down that it's hard to pull him back and stifle that part of his game. So, I don't know. I just got to go back and look at it. But, you hit it right on the head. There's just way too many turnovers today. Way too many. I think we had, 3 or 4, I think. And they had 0. So, that's tough. It's hard to win a football game like that. It's amazing, to be honest, that we were in it that far along into the game, overtime with 4 turnovers.
All right, any other questions for offensive coordinator Kasey Dunn? Our next question is going to come from Scott Wright from the Oklahoman. Go ahead, Scott.
With the way Tylan was playing, did it become harder and harder to get him the ball late? It seemed like he was covered up more often late in the game and overtime than earlier.
Yeah, they paid a lot more attention to him, no question. Took him out of the game plan a little bit, but like I said, we were trying to at that point, get it going, hand that thing off, and keep it a little bit close to the vest and get some of our quarterback runs, going. We didn't do much of it really in the first half, and we tried to get that going. And there was a lot of play calls used on trying to establish that, and it just didn't pay off for us. It's almost like I could hit the reset button again. I just say, hey, screw it, let's throw this thing deep again. But the yardage, I don't know what it was. I mean, I got this thing in my hand, but I really haven't looked at it too much. But I felt like we moved the football pretty well. It's just you can't shoot yourself in the foot that many times with the turnovers.
And then how impactful were the injuries on the offensive line and having to move guys around up there?
That had an impact, on just, what can we do throwing the football, and how are we going to protect it and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, I mean, I think we could have protected it well enough to push the ball down the field and give those guys more shots. I'll take that responsibility. We got to continue to shove it down the field, it really, we got to get that damn run game going. So, like I said, back to the drawing board on that. We'll establish that run again. We've been running the football really, really well all year long. And when you're in a game like that and you think that, you can run it to close it, and we've done that in games before, it just didn't work out this time.
Thanks, Kasey.
Our next question is going to come from Barry Trammell from the Oklahoman. Go ahead, Barry.
Kasey, you talked about getting the quarterback run game going. Spencer didn't do much on the ground today except the 35-yard run was off a scramble. It wasn't off a running play. What was Texas doing to curtail the quarterback run game?
They did a good job with their ends, on just sifting the thing out, making the read hard for the QB. So whether to hand the ball or to keep it. And, just made it difficult. And when he did keep it, they did a good job of feathering back out and making a play on the kid. So, And they're fast. They're a fast football team. They're saying, hey, let's make them throw the ball down the field is really what they wanted to do. And then at the end of the game, we said, yeah, we're going to throw it down the field, and we moved the ball down to, put ourselves in a position to kick the tying field goal. So, there's a lot of positives in there for us to take away. But to answer your question, yeah, that's what they did. They did a good job with their ends on feathering that thing out, making the reads a little bit muddy, and they're fast, they're athletic. And I mean, gosh darn it, I can't say it enough. It boils right down to turning the football. We cannot do that, and we got to get that short up, and it starts with me.
Well, Coach, thank you very much. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks. Go Pokes.
All right, Tim. Sir.
Tylan, heck of a performance for you today.
Thank you. Thank you.
So you kind of already know the routine. We've got all the media folks that are on here. So members of the media, if you have a question for wide receiver Tylan Wallace, please click raise hand and we'll try and get to everyone. Our first question is going to come from Scott Wright from the Oklahoman. Go ahead, Scott.
Tylan, how did the looks that you were seeing change over the game as you continue to put up yards, and then later were kind of hard? It became harder for them to get the ball your way.
Coming out, they were playing a good a little bit of man, a little bit of cover four. I think we were doing a pretty good job of taking advantage of that. And towards the end of the game, they started going a little cover two-man type stuff. Obviously, in those type of looks, it's harder to throw the ball in those situations. But all the credit to them, did a good job. On our side, we had too many mistakes. We had to clean those up and just come back and be ready to play next week.
Thanks, Tylan.
Our next question is going to come from Garen Emig from the Tulsa World. Go ahead, Garen.
Yeah, Tylan, how frustrating is it to drop this one, given you controlled stretches of the game? You certainly statistically had almost a 2-to-1 edge in yardage and first downs. Obviously, the story, though, becomes the giveaways by your offense. Is that difficult to swallow?
Definitely. Just as a whole, as a team, you get so close to winning the game like that, and to just lose it like that, it's tough. It's tough on everybody. But like I was saying, we got to come back, regroup, and get ready for next week.
Thanks.
Our final question, Frank Bonner from the Tulsa World. Go ahead, Frank.
Hey, Tylan, after a loss like this, how do you start that? How do you approach the next practice after having a tough loss like this?
I mean, it starts tomorrow. Tomorrow we got to lift, and we got a little short kind of walkthrough type practice. So we got to come in, energy high. Guys got to be ready to go out and attack the week. I mean, you just got to stay positive. You can't let one game get you down. The leaders, we got to step up, including me. Got to get all the guys together and just move on to the next one.
Appreciate you.
All right, Tylan, thank you so much. We appreciate you as always.
Thank you.
Trey, how are you?
I'm good.
Good. All right, members of the media, if you have a question for safety Trey Sterling, please click raise hand and we'll try and get to everybody. Our first question is going to come from Scott Wright from the Oklahoman. Go ahead, Scott.
Trey, first of all, how are you feeling, and how tough was it watching that one at the end from the sidelines?
My ankle's pretty messed up right now. My knee kind of tweaked, but it should be good. But my ankle, it's pretty, I guess, sore right now, swollen. I'm about to go on training and see what's wrong with it. But it was tough, just watching, and not being able to contribute, and, not being able to do anything in overtime, with your teams and your friends that you work 365 days a year with to do stuff like that. So it was hard, but hopefully I'll be back and we'll get better. So.
That said, what did you think of the guys? I mean, obviously you were playing two guys down with Colby out as well. What did you think of the young guys stepping in back there?
They did great. It's not easy to come into a game like that when you don't have as much experience as everyone else. It's tough to come in like that against Texas, against the top offense in the nation. But they did well. I knew they were going to. We have talent from top to bottom on the defense, on this team, really. But I knew they were going to do good. So we just got to get them more reps in game. So.
Thanks, Trey.
Our next question is going to come from Barry Trammell from the Oklahoman. Go ahead, Barry.
Yeah, Trey, how tough is it on a defense when you get put in a position you did where Texas got the ball? I think 3 turnovers, they put them at the 20 or closer. How tough is it to keep playing big-time defense when you're put in such difficult situations?
Yeah. I mean, it's not what you want, but, when it happens, it happens. Coach Knowles always says, give us an inch and we'll defend it. So, it doesn't matter what scenario, where the ball is. If there's a play of defense going, we need to be able to stop them no matter what. So, we still need to get better in that aspect, and we will.
Our next question is going to come from Hallie Hart from the Oklahoman. Go ahead, Hallie.
Hi, Trey. Despite the loss, what did you think of what Tanner McAllister was able to do for the defense out there today?
Tanner's a ball player. He's been a ball player since, he's been here. Actually, he played, he started and stuff like that when I was just on special teams, and seeing him play and, the energy he plays with is just amazing. So he's given his all every single down, every single game, every single possession, and that's all you can ask from him. He's been producing.
Thank you.
All right, Trey, thank you so much. We appreciate you taking the time.
Thank y'all.
Hello, Coach.
Hello.
So we've got same media folks that, as typical, are on here. So members of the media, if you have a question for defensive coordinator Jim Knowles, please click raise hand and we'll try and get to you. Our first question is going to come from Joseph Fazio from the O'Colly. Go ahead, Joseph.
Hey, Coach. How you doing?
I've been better.
During when Gundy was talking, he talked about how with the pass interference in the overtime, if they didn't get it, Texas would kick the field goal. Can you just talk about how decisive that pass interference call was to the outcome of this game?
There are a lot of plays. I never like to look at one play as being the decisive moment of the game. We still had a chance to stop them, and we didn't after that. So that goes on me.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Our next question comes from Barry Trammell from the Oklahoman. Go ahead, Barry.
Jim, you guys were put in some difficult positions with the turnovers and whatnot 3 times from the 20 and or closer. How do you feel you held up as a whole in defending such difficult field position?
67%, I guess. Right, 2 out of 3 with field goals. It's sounds like coach speak, but that's the deal. That's the thing about defense. It's a right now proposition. Either you stop them or you don't. It doesn't matter where they get the ball in that situation. We're looking to get out of the field goal. So I guess we graded out about 67% in that situation, and certainly could have done better.
Did you feel like I think Texas had 279 yards, and until the very end, you contained Ellinger. How did you feel you played overall?
I thought our guys fought hard. Against a tough opponent. When you start to get into these games that matter on the national scene, you're never going to be perfect, but you got to fight to be damn near perfect. And, I just thought there were a couple plays that we certainly could have done better at. But I thought they played hard. I mean, there are no more victories we lost. And we got to do better.
Our next question is going to come from Hallie Hart from the Oklahoman. Go ahead, Hallie.
Hi, Coach Knowles. With Colby Harvell-Peel sidelined, just how much do you think that affected the game, and what do you think is the biggest thing you all lose when he's not playing?
Well, Colby's a veteran. He's got a great feel for the game, great football intelligence, makes a lot of plays for us. But, we have every confidence in our backups. And it's my job to make sure they're ready to play. And I thought those guys stepped in.
Thank you.
Coach, thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
Thanks.
All right, members of the media, if you have a question for quarterback Spencer Sanders, please click raise hand and we'll try and get to everyone. Our first question is going to come from Barry Trammell from the Oklahoman. Go ahead, Barry.
Yeah, Spencer, you guys dominated this game in as far as moving the ball, but the turnovers and mistakes gave Texas a chance to win. When you look back on this game, what are you going to most regret?
You can't. I'm never going to regret anything. It is what it is. If we lost the game, it hurt me. It's going to push me to the heart. It wasn't my fault. I'll stand up and I'll take it. If you want to bash me, you can bash me. It doesn't matter. I just had too many mistakes and I can't do that. I just can't do it. Next question.
Our next question is going to come from Heather Dinich from ESPN. Go ahead, Heather.
How do you emotionally and quickly recover to keep your goals in front of you? And what are your goals now after this loss?
We just got to win out. And, we go to practice the next day. It's just a next day mentality. And we just got to keep going and stay focused, and we can still win this thing out. And we're just going to give it the best thing that we got. And it's sad to lose this, but you can't hang your heads. We're men, so we're just going to keep pushing. And what's going to really define us is how we respond to this. So we're just going to gather the guys, and we're just going to keep going, and we're going to keep doing what we can do.
Our next question is going to come from Hallie Hart from the Oklahoman. Go ahead, Hallie.
Hi, Spencer. With Jake Springfield leaving with that injury, how do you think that affected things just with the offensive line having to shuffle like that?
Well, injuries can cause some problems, but I feel like they stepped up and they did what they needed to do. And I feel like everybody else played great. I mean, they had a great game, and I didn't. And we just got to keep going, and we got to keep fighting and stay together.
Thank you.
Our next question is going to come from Scott Wright from the Oklahoman. Go ahead, Scott.
Spencer, take us through kind of what you saw in the last play and what went wrong for you guys there.
Well, it's cover zero, and we had a developing route, so I wanted to make sure I could get it developed. I should have stayed in the pocket, and maybe possibly I should have just stayed in the pocket and just took the blow, and something could have came open. I was just trying to extend the play and just keep us alive, and that's my bad. And I'm going to fix that play.
Thanks, Spencer.
All right, last couple questions. This one will come from Frank Bonner from the Tulsa World. Go ahead, Frank.
Hey, Spencer, I know there were some tough moments in this game, but there were also some pretty good moments like that last drive in the fourth quarter that with the field goal. How do you take those type of moments and build on it to continue to create those moments in future games?
I mean, it just shows what we can do, and we just have to execute better. I have to execute better, and do anything. So just gotta get back to work tomorrow, and like I said, the guys around me played great, and I just got to pick up my part, and we can keep going. If you want to point a finger at anybody, you can point it at me.
Thank you, Spencer.
All right, our final question for Spencer Sanders is going to come from Barry Trammell from the Oklahoman. Go ahead, Barry.
Yeah, Spencer, on that last drive, you guys had been trying to establish the run most of the second half and hadn't really been successful. And then you get the ball with, 70 seconds left, and you go right down the field. What did you like about that possession? And looking back, what could have happened to maybe give you a shot or two at the end zone before time ran out?
I felt like we played it right. That's where you mess up, is you try to take the big play when the little play is open. So they kept giving us the little play, and we kept taking it. So we took it all the way down the field. If they're not going to give us the big play, we're not going to force anything. So we took the little things, and we came together, and we were strong. And I love all my guys for that, and I'll do anything for them. So at this point, I've just got to pick up my execution, and we could be unbelievable.
Spencer, I know it's not always easy or comfortable to come to the media, but just know that we appreciate you. In good or bad, you're here. It matters. So thank you. We appreciate you. Brock, you worked hard out there today.
Yeah.
You were active. Obviously didn't get the result, but man, you played hard. You definitely showed up. So members of the media, if you have a question for defensive lineman Brock Martin, please click raise hand. Our first question is going to come from Barry Trammell from the Oklahoman. Go ahead, Barry.
Yeah, Brock, you guys curtailed Texas most of the game, despite being in some difficult situations. How tough was it to play defense like that, considering the field position you were placed in after some of those turnovers?
It doesn't matter where the ball's placed in the field. That's our job. We played a good game, but we didn't keep them out of the end zone. We were held in the field goals. I know it's sudden change turnovers.
All right, members of the media, if you have questions for Brock Martin, again, click raise hand, and we will try and get to everyone. Our next question is going to come from Scott Wright from the Oklahoman. Go ahead, Scott.
Brock, as one of the leaders on this team, what is your message to the rest of the guys to put this behind you and move forward?
Hey, Brock, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we can't even really hear you at all. The microphone on that computer really isn't very strong. Is there any chance that you can either get a little bit closer or speak up a little bit? We can't hear you.
All right, what was the question?
As one of the leaders on the team, what is your message to the guys to move forward now?
When we passed it, I say let it burn for a little bit. Let it burn inside of you. Piss you off, make you work harder. Obviously, we made some mistakes today. We couldn't win the turnover battle. Our defense couldn't get enough turnovers. Winning the turnover battle is pretty tough to win games, especially with a good team like Texas. But, we did everything we could as a defense, but sometimes it just doesn't work out like we wanted to.
Thanks, Brock.
All right, and our final question is going to come from Barry Trammell from the Oklahoman. Go ahead, Barry.
Yeah, Brock, you guys did a great job of containing Sam Ehlinger all game. The last, the possession in overtime in the last possession, he got loose for a couple of scramble and throws. What is it that's so difficult about defending him, and why were you so successful most of the game, and then what happened on the couple of times when he got free?
With a player like Ehlinger, he's going to play in the NFL. He's very poised. He's very poised in the pocket. He doesn't really get worried, or he doesn't really get stressed out in the pocket. He stays in there, and then he waits for something to open up downfield, and he throws a ball deep or check down, or he figures out a way to get out of the pocket and scramble for a few yards and make a play. That's what he does. That's what he's been doing. We knew going into this game that
that's what he's going to do, and that's what he's capable of. And, you know, we did our job. You know, we did the best we could to contain him. I mean, I think we did that for most of the game, minus a few plays, but we knew going in that he was going to make a few plays on his own.
All right, Brock, thank you so much. We appreciate you coming in. It really does make a difference.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Members of the media, thank you as well. We appreciate you. That'll do it for our interviews.